Okay, we are live. Sorry about that. Couple bugs on my end, but we are live.
Awesome. The team knows, and we are ready.
Cool. All right, let's get cooking here. I don't know why a couple things are a little off today. All right, we're gonna start in a second here. Let me just get a couple things. Okay. One more second here. Okay. All right. So yeah, welcome back to the Think Tank Live podcast. At Think, we streamline democracy so you can vote for you. Um, every week, we break down what's happening in politics using our political lens, up versus down, instead of left versus right. Up means power first, down means people first. It's not left, not right, just about representation. Digital politics helps all of us see the real patterns behind shutdowns, donor deals, and the stories that never get explained clearly. It's all about the concentration of power versus true representation. Think of Think as your civic utility company. We're plugging citizens, trusted journalists, and underdog candidates into one coordination hub. So together we can use today's rules differently and start building digital democracy, the future home for America's politics. Our goal is better choices, better outcomes, and one fair system where every candidate is seen and every citizen is heard. If you want to help shape what's next, join our newsletter to get notified when the Digital Politics Hub goes live in the next few weeks around New Year's. That's where you'll be able to amplify people first efforts, plug in the voices you trust, and help shape the future of politics. So before we dive in, tap the heart, jump into the chat, hit follow, all those good things. We're on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Um, we're listening if you put some comments in any of those chats. So all right, let's plug in.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome everybody. And Travis, today I wanted to talk about, how do we go from today to the world of digital democracy, digital politics. And, as we talked about in the description and the title, well, gosh, everything else in our life is digital and useful and convenient and user friendly. But the one system uh, that runs all of our lives, every aspect of it, is still in the 20th century. And, everything from getting a ride to how we do our education system to dating has all found its footing in the digital age. So, why is politics still in the 20th century? So, that's what we're going to talk about today. Uh, how Think, in addition to uh, the viewers, but at large, the American voters, how together we can both build this digital system, but also create a system that really talks about representation, talks about voting for you. So let's get into it. Yeah, Travis. So, gosh, just to name a couple of services, 'cause that's what they are, right? They're services that have really embraced the digital age. You got Uber, you got Spotify, you got Amazon, you got Venmo. It's anything from our money to our music to our real estate has really found um, almost a second breath in the digital age. But democracy, right? The system that makes us, I think, a nation to be proud of, is still pre-internet. So yeah, let's dive into a little bit of that. And to dive into that, first let's talk about where we feel politics today is outdated. And for me, politics is outdated. I live in Wisconsin, and the simple fact that I don't have an easy way to access the political history or the funding or, gosh, the positions that politicians in my area hold seems so foreign. I have to dig through the internet, and I have to have a second job as this political finder of information. And I don't know, man, it's so it bogs me down every election cycle to have to play detective to find information.
Yeah, so yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, like really what you just said, how all these different sectors, like you went from taxis to Uber and like traditional delivery services to like Uber Eats and others, DoorDash, like things like that. Instead of hotels, you have Airbnb. So yeah, there's all these like new modern replacements or evolutions of these existing services. Um, and like you said, the one thing that hasn't done that is politics. Um, and so a lot of that goes back to like what we talk about, the rig system, and how for one, it's like kind of the like baby boomers, that the oldest generation are the ones that are in most control of politics in any kind of sector, everything from politicians to consultants to the ins and outs of the system have a bit of a generational gap. So with that tends to be a tech gap as well. So that plays a part. But really also the main thing is that it wouldn't be advantageous to those already in power to have a more modernized system. And so that's kind of the core of the problem. Yeah, a newer candidate or good candidates, grassroots candidates, people that are confident in their position would love something like that. But those that are in power that don't always fulfill their promises, and yes, they raise millions of dollars at a drop of a hat, but they don't actually represent the people. They don't want it to be that obvious, so they don't want it to be a streamlined process. They don't want more competition. They don't want more transparency in what they're doing or what they're not doing. And so that's part of it. There's a lot of pieces to it. Even like when we talk to like different movements and organizations, like a lot of them are still in the analog ages, or they're not realizing that there's how to really capitalize on the digital tools of today and social media and digital organizing instead of just traditional organizing. So there's a lot of variables as we're talking about here.
Yeah, and as you were talking, Travis, I realized that I came into this episode thinking of explaining, the need to digitize democracy as almost like the bridge to a better democracy. But you made a really great point that it's not just a bridge that just naturally needs to happen. It is a tool in and of itself to start applying the digital politics lens, right? So if information was more accessible and user friendly, and in one location, um, just the ability for people to almost have a one-stop shop to access the information immediately, it seems like, will bring a new a new sentiment to uh, politics, right? Because if it's hard to reach your senator by telephone, right, that benefits them because they don't have to talk to you. If they don't have their town hall meetings, or it's in a place that you don't have access to, right, that keeps them uh, unaccountable to them. So yeah, can we talk a little bit about just the access of information and the access to a modern tool of conversation that the Digital Politics Hub, but then eventually digital democracy, once it's implemented, that in and of itself is a tool.
Yeah, so starting with the digital politics hub, that's what we're launching in January. So like part of it is that digital some form of digital democracy is kind of an inevitability. Like it's the obvious progression. Like of course politics needs a digital face. Like that's kind of obvious. And so the powers that be might not like that being the fact, and they might be slowing down the speed of which that happens, but they're never going to stop it. They can't. So starting with the, right now we're come January with the hub, we're moving to the coordination phase, as we're calling it at FiNC. And the idea is that, a lot of these technologies already exist. A lot of these outside the box approaches already exist. And the problem is they're working independently, and that makes it fragmented, and not one piece of this technology. If every piece of this technology is just running their own course, and they have to advertise for themselves and get engagement by themselves, and like, if it's every man for themselves in a tech sense, it's not gonna cut it. There's not gonna be enough awareness. Like, again, there's been a lot of tech like this for years, and yet most people have no idea that any of it exists. And there's been so many organizations that try these things and then failed, not because the tech wasn't good, not because the idea wasn't good, but because America just didn't know about it to buy into it. And so our ultimate vision is to not to reinvent the wheel, but to interconnect these puzzle pieces. Again, that the tech already exists, these ideas already exist, these strategies already exist, there's already movements on the ground. They just need to work more in tangent with one another. And so this first stage, the coordination hub, is really about first making those like finding all the connections that can happen. So, with the hub, citizens come first. That's the main thing. We want as many citizens involved as possible, because you guys are going to be the oversight of all that's going to happen. You're going to own this platform as it comes out. And but then, in addition to coordinating with citizens, we want the journalists, influencers, podcasters, YouTubers. We want underdog candidates, eventually all candidates, but starting with like grassroots underdogs, third parties, independents, and grassroots within the two parties, and then other like movements and political organizations. So the coordination hub first brings them in one place, starts coordinating some of the messaging. Here's, when two people align, you could share each other's message. If you guys don't align, that's okay. Don't share the message, but you could still be civil with one another. And so we're launching those types of tools where you could find, who do I align with, who don't I align with, who do I want to amplify, who am I going to just not do anything. And so the coordination hub is kind of saying, like, just spreading awareness, who's involved, what this vision could be, how, number one is really putting our differences aside. The only way this works is if we're bridging across political beliefs. It doesn't matter if it's a Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Socialist, anarchist. We want to bridge all of that, because we just want everyone in one shared infrastructure, so it's simpler. Everyone has a better chance at succeeding, and accountability, transparency. They don't have to worry about the marketing so much. So coordination is kind of the hardest step. And then once we align who's involved and keep spreading awareness, then we can really pull the trigger to, like, all right, let's start tying all the technologies together. Like, one organization has polling systems already created, let's incorporate that. Others have the tech for the people's primary and how to run a contest so that Americans truly choose who wins the primary through an app. So we're incorporating that. And then, like, there's like Open Secrets that has the funding information for all federal and state candidates. We're going to incorporate that. So first is like coordinating, like, this is the vision, this is what we need to do together, this is how we bridge the divide. And then once we have the coordination, then we propel forward and pull the trigger and start, sewing all these technologies and visions into one shared infrastructure, one umbrella.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to reset the room, and then I want to talk about blending, because people who've tuned in before usually hear us talk about the up-down lens that we have, and how it's more than left and right. And I want to talk about that in a digital sense. But if you're tuning in, welcome. This is the Think Tank Live. We're live right now on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And we use the digital politics lens, up versus down instead of left versus right. And what that does, it unpacks what's actually happening in politics today. So FiNC is your civic utility, plugging citizens and trusted voices into one hub to start building digital democracy, which is the future home for American politics. To get involved, check out our newsletter, sign up there at futureis.org so that you will get alerts and be alerted, I suppose, when our Digital Politics Hub drops, so that you don't miss out on it and you can get on it instantly. And you can help shape what comes next along with us. And remember to like and subscribe to us and help us grow. So going back to building off of previous conversations. So at FiNC, we talk about it's not left versus right? That's a very minimalistic way to approach politics, and how we apply this up-down lens. Is a politician serving upwards? Are they serving power and big donors, or are they down serving, the people? So I'd like to help frame that to people, that by only judging left versus right, is something red or is it blue? Is it Republican or Democrat? What that does, it only divides things that are more opinions of how to solve a problem, right? So it's a very important, and it's where you stand, and we totally respect that. But it's a limited view of the nature of politics. And what the up-down lens does, it helps us judge leaders, judge those who we give power through our votes, how they are doing their job, and gosh, if they deserve a vote next election season. So Travis, can you go into how the Digital Politics Hub and down the line digital democracy, how that really starts incorporating our ability to judge leadership or assess accountability? How does that, I guess, look in a digital world?
So right away when people start using the coordination hub, the digital politics hub, there's going to be, first there's the level of understanding. First understanding, like, what is the problem? The problem is basically kind of three main things. It's direct money in politics and corporate influence. It's party gatekeeping, those in power wanting to stay in power. And then the third one is the establishment media, and that there's kind of this controlled narrative of what we hear and what we are told is what's going on in the world. So first is just understanding that those are the main problems that are happening, and then from there, just even with the coordination stage, we are going to connect you to the resources to find this information. So for example, like opensecrets.org has funding sources from federal and state levels. So it takes a little bit of effort to go there, but you go there, you put in a candidate's information, you'll see who's funding their campaigns and stuff like that. The long term, we want to pull that into one shared space and streamline it, make it more user friendly. But these sources already exist. So at the coordination stage, we're going to at least show you the resources that have this kind of information. We're going to connect you to podcasts and journalists that talk about these issues and aren't aligned with the establishment and the status quo. So it's basically like connecting to more trusted voices. And when we say trust, it's not like vetting, like, oh, well, you don't agree with my policies. It's really just like, if they want true representation, they want you to be represented, they're trying to give you the truth, even if they're not perfectly correct. No one's going to be perfect. So, but we want people that have a good intention to give you the right information. Those will be connected to this source, to this hub. So it really just interconnects you to trusted resources, voices, different movements that you could get involved in, journalists that you could follow, influencers you could follow. So things like that to really help you understand what are the questions, what should I be looking at of these candidates. And like, eventually we're gonna have like a checklist, like you could check, if you like a candidate, go through this list of like seeing, like, because the big problem is, like, of course you're gonna find plenty of politicians that you love their promises. What we want you to realize is just because they have promises doesn't mean they're going to actually fight for those promises. That's the big distinguisher. And like, we all kind of know that it's like in our blood that we know, oh, politicians lie. That's what they do. But like, now, luckily, with the digital age, there are ways to track how much they lie and track, where do they have significant conflicts of interest. So in a nutshell, the Coordination Hub helps you find, look at those, ask yourself those kinds of questions, check the legitimacy of a candidate, see, are they really going to fight for me or not? And so that makes a huge difference. So that the hub initially is really more about the digital politics lens, seeing this other layer of politics, not just left versus right, but up versus down. Is the candidate legitimate? Are they going to fight for me, or are they going to just fight for more power or big donors and throw me to the wolves? And then as this gets big enough and we reach a certain level of critical mass and enough people power, then we're moving to the next step of building the full digital democracy, the digital embodiment of America's democracy, and and then interconnecting and streamlining all these things into one big system.
Yeah. And something that I think people, and maybe this is just in my own head, that almost worry about is, oh, if I log into your digital politics hub or in part of this coordination phase, you're going to tell me what to believe. You're going to just feed me. You're going to almost provide this low level propaganda. But you go a little into how what we're building at FiNC is about collaboration efforts. It's about providing the resources that are already out there, that people already trust, already subscribe to, but expanding their worldview, but also just making it easier for both politicians, voters, reform organizations, things like that, to just have better accessibility to each other. So it's not about what you believe, it's about finding the resources that help either sharpen your lens or just broaden your world, not broaden, but just provide more opportunity for you to act upon the values that you come into the digital politics hub with, be it conservative, progressive, libertarian, whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, to address that concern, one of the big things that makes us unique is we're not a movement. We're a meta movement, a movement of movements. I know it sounds like just wordplay. It's not. We are not a movement. We want to incorporate the existing movements, efforts, civic technologies, all the good grassroots things that are happening today. We see them as puzzle pieces, and we just want to fit the pieces together, and then we just want to be we want to be the connective tissue. It's if they're all the puzzle pieces, we're that empty, we're that blank piece that you're putting all the pieces into, but then we do want to put it in a container so that America knows exactly to go to one specific place and you see all the puzzle pieces. But also the part of the idea is that again, we're not a movement. The movements that are going to be in the is going to be in this meta movement they're not going to all agree with each other. I mean, there's going to be plenty of times when they're fundamentally against one another. And the idea is that we just want to have a shared infrastructure for democracy to work. Everyone needs to have a voice. Everyone needs a chance to speak to the public and have a chance of hey, maybe this is the answer, or I'm a candidate. Maybe I'm the best candidate for you, even though I am not already in the status quo and have millions of dollars and stuff. Everyone should have a chance to prove themselves to America, regardless of where they stand, regardless of how much money they have, regardless of, who they're not in bed with. And so we want to incorporate pretty much everyone. So so for example, progressives and libertarians, in a lot of ways, they're fundamentally against each other. One wants a very small government, one wants a lot of government intervention. And what we say is we're not here to say who's right or wrong. We give both voices, both shared infrastructure, both all these new tools that make things more efficient and cost effective. But they also have they do have overlapping interests. That fundamentally big government, small government, but then when it comes to both want true representation, both would love money out of politics, Both would love if Congress stopped doing insiders trading on the stock market. Both sides want accountability. Both sides don't like misinformation. So there's all these common goals that that a lot of different movements, parties, candidates will all agree to. And there's some where everyone's going to agree, which is more of the true representation, the core of our mission. But then we're going to divide it into clusters that it's going to be split up that, there's different issues where some movements agree with this kind of healthcare. These 3 or 5 groups want this other kind of healthcare. And, so we want them to be able to work with each other when they align, but also be civil when they're not aligned. And that's the most important part, that you don't have to be mortal enemies, just because you don't always agree with each other. And, so these are the pieces to the meta movement. So going back to the concern of we're not here to vet of oh, well, we don't agree with your policy, so you're not allowed in. No, it's pretty much everyone's allowed in as long as they're willing to play by fair rules. That you get you have your chance to speak to the people on this system. It's up to you to raise to have your voice for people to resonate with you. But you can't spend money to cheat through the system. You can't lie. Those are the only guardrails that we're here to reinforce. Just play by the fair rules. Don't cheat. Don't if you have something powerful to show the American people, we're going to give you a voice and a chance to do so, but don't cheat to get there. And that's really the only rule. So you could fundamentally disagree with me as a person. If I disagree with you, that's fine, but I still want you to have a voice, and you have a chance that for citizens to want to support whatever you're doing, and work together where you align, and be civil where you don't align.
That's a great explanation, and that really focuses on how we can't change politics overnight, but we can start playing by fair, better rules that really serve the people, right? And address the people rather than, people who do cheat, right? Huge donors, huge consultants, all of that mess. I'm going to reset the room. And then for the last portion of this live, guys, we're going to go deeper into the Digital Politics Hub that is going to be released in just a couple of weeks. So let's reset the room. Welcome. This is Think Tank Live. We're live right now on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. We use a digital politics lens. So rather than left versus right, we use the lens of up versus down. Who is a politician serving, power or the people? And that helps us unpack what is actually happening in politics. So FiNC is your civic utility. We plug citizens and trusted voices into one hub to start building digital democracy, which is the future home for America's politics. And to get involved, to make sure you don't miss when our Digital Politics Hub drops, sign up on our newsletter. Go to futureis.org, sign up for the newsletter, and get alerts when the hub launches and when we have big updates to share with you guys, so that you can start helping build and shape what comes next. So remember to like us or wherever you're viewing us from, and hit that subscribe button. So for our final piece today, Travis, we're going to go deeper into this Digital Politics Hub that's dropping in a couple weeks. And guys, we've been working really hard behind the scenes, so we are so happy with what we are building, and we're so excited for that to drop. But let's talk about some things that, logging onto an app, right, doesn't change the world. But some things that the hub is going to address, it's going to really streamline democracy. And we like to say that, more inwardly in the company, but we're saying it publicly too. FiNC is about streamlining democracy and having the ability to vote for you. So it solves the issue of today of, all the chaos, all the noise, all the gatekeeping. We've talked about this previously, the lesser of two evils feeling when you show up to vote. So Travis, can you go into how using the app, the hub that is going to be launched in a couple weeks, how does it address and bypass the noise of partisanship and helps us to overcome the lesser of two evils trap that we're often faced with?
Yeah, so I guess the fundamental way it works is that right now you think you're hearing different opinions from different voices in the general society, and it actually is like a very small concentration of power that you hear from, basically. So what I mean by that is you're hearing from the party leaders, Democrat leadership, Republican leadership. 90% of TV media is really just six companies. So you're listening to six companies, the party leaders. Though it's that concentration of power, those that have billions or at least millions of dollars to have a voice that they can pay to make sure you hear it. Um, so that's the noise. That's the sound you hear on a daily basis, whether you like it or not. So it's not even like the podcast you go to; it's the ads you see on the way to that podcast.
Mm.
Or you're watching a TV show or whatever. It's the commercials in between that TV show. You're driving somewhere. It's the billboards. So the noise is the stuff that you did not consent to. It's just thrown in your face because that's how money and advertising works. So to what we're doing, and like it's already been proven that like the statistics are showing that the like commercials and stuff have less and less of an effect on us because we're like from the day you're born there's ads all up in your face, and so we're learning to like cognitively like filter that out in our daily lives, so we like don't even really like listen to a lot of it. To it's still there's still a lot of ways that you have influence, don't get me wrong, but our brains are adapting to try to zone out and filter out the noise. So with the coordination hub, how that starts changing things is it basically streamlines directly to the sources that you trust. And like it's gonna take a minute to like get it that specifically, but like first we're putting like all trusted, everyone that's like willing to play by the rules, play more fair, less misinformation and disinformation, less cheating, spending money to cheat and like actually earn a louder voice. So first we're pooling that together, breaking it down, like who stands on what issues, and like so better ways to matchmake you with the ones that you like. Because we're going to find, like for candidates, for example, we're going to find all the underdog grassroots candidates that do want true representation. They agree with money out of politics. They agree to move away from the status quo. But still, some of them will be left-leaning, some of them will be right-leaning. You're not going to agree with all of them. You're not even going to agree with like even half of them. So we want to break that down. Like, okay, you're allowed in because of those main things. You're going to play by the rules. You want true representation. You want to cut out the disinformation. All right, you come in now. We'll help you categorize yourself on like where you stand on policies and stuff, so that citizens can find whichever ones of which ones that they do align with beyond just being about representation. And so it's kind of like that. It's like it's really more like this early stage is kind of like a matchmaker. Like, oh, I like what FiNC is saying, but I want to hear other voices that are kind of similar. Okay, well, when this launches, there'll be a list of podcasts that are about true representation, and start talking like they're not completely 100% exactly like us, but they're aligned at least to a decent extent. So they have other ways to talk about representation and how the system is broken. They'll have their own ideas of solutions. We don't always agree with their ideas, but we're still want to connect them in. That's the whole point, is we're going to connect everyone in. We stay neutral, really, is that how I should say it? We stay neutral on on their specific solutions. So again, we're going to connect podcasters, YouTubers, influencers is one category. Candidates, underdog politicians is the other. Movements and political organizations is another that we're connecting in. And then independent journalists and like news, independent news outlets that are not those six companies that run most of the media. So basically creating a hub of all the grassroots, decentralized, like for the people organizations, trusted voices that people trust. You know, it might be a trusted voice, doesn't mean you're going to align on their policy stance, so you're not going to like 100% of them, but you're at least going to see a pool, starting to see and grow a pool of like what trusted voices can look like, and then you pick the ones that like resonate with you on like policy stances and other details.
Yeah, going back to the issue of like it's the noise of politics. I like what you said there, Travis. It's everything you didn't consent to. I think that was a really great point. So for politicians, but also organizations, it's not that we want something different than commercials, different than billboards. It's those things are already obsolete, is what you're saying. We already don't care about the commercials between our shows. We don't care when we're driving down the highway what the billboards say. So those things are already obsolete. So it's not about providing this alternative way for candidates to spend millions of dollars to get your attention. We're saying they shouldn't have to spend millions of dollars to get your attention. And for me, I think that is almost a crowning jewel of what the Digital Politics Hub provides. It provides easy access, right? It's a hub. It's a thing you go to on your phone, your computer. It's easy access. It's a one-stop shop for your political life. You know, candidates, movements, different protests or things you could sign up for. It's a one-stop home for those things. But something that's super unique to what we're building, we're not just finding new ways to spend $1 million to get your attention. What we are building at FiNC and what we're building with you guys is so much cheaper. We're saying that much money doesn't even need to be a factor in the game anymore, that it is this almost archaic way of approaching politics that can be done better. And the digital application of politics is that way forward. It bypasses a lot of the big money that we see in politics, but also the accessibility and accountability of politicians. And so can you go a little bit into the money part of it, right? Because I think that's such a huge conversation of like, follow the money and you'll find the evil, I guess. But what Digital Politics Hub provides in terms of no longer needing to play this dirty game of who can raise the most money the fastest.
Yeah, so it starts with a Digital Politics Hub. I mean, right away, just having that is gonna substantially move it into this more efficient direction, more fair direction, and then really ultimately, once digital democracy comes out, then we can literally save billions of dollars. So like right now, for example, we spend these days, it goes up every year, but like right now we're spending about $12 billion a year in politics, in campaigning, pretty much just campaigning. And that includes like the big money and the small money together is about $12 billion a year, just for the campaigns for 1 year of advertising as politicians, saying, hey, here I am. And even worse, it's usually not even saying, hey, here I am. It's saying, here's what that guy is doing that I don't like. They're more attack ads than pro ads. So you're not even learning more about candidates for the most part. You're learning worse things about the other candidate. But that's a different story. So really, like when it comes down to like saving on the billions, that's going to be digital democracy. So for everyone, really. So the idea is that, why do candidates have to spend millions of dollars? Like an average senator and a House member have to spend millions just on one campaign, one election cycle. And don't forget, the House runs every 2 years, so they're like almost constantly in a state of campaigning. Why does a politician need to raise millions of dollars? It's all about advertising. It's literally just to get name recognition, so you know who they are and you know why the other guy is worse than them. And so they spend millions for commercials and billboards and a lot of that stuff. They don't even, most of that, they don't even spend much of that money on like door to door anymore. They don't interact with the American people. They're just doing the money stuff. They're not even like putting their efforts as much into the people power. You know, those that are actually grassroots are doing that, but not the establishment people that raise the giant money. You know, their entire focus is pay to play, and like pay to play dinners and dial for dollars, and like they're looking for 10 grand here, 5 grand there, 50 grand there, maybe $1 million sometimes. You know, they're not looking for your $5, $10. They almost don't care about that. Because they're trained right now that as long as they spend millions of dollars, they're going to get your vote. They just have to buy your vote, basically. And so what we're doing and what this builds is that instead of needing millions of dollars just to be heard, we want to build a shared infrastructure where all the candidates are heard. And that immediately starts completely changing the system. If every single candidate, Democrat, Republican, and third party, independents, everyone is pretty much guaranteed to have a voice and have a second to prove whether they're a good match for you. And like, so you as a citizen, you put your zip code in, you see these are all the candidates running in your district. This is where they stand on policies. This is who's funding their campaign. You know, look out for conflicts of interest based on where their money is coming from, what industry that money is. It'll show you the consistency on their promises. Do they deliver on their promises once they're elected? So it both like guarantees all of them to have a voice and have a chance to prove whether they're a good match for you. And it shows the skeletons in their closet, whether they agree to it or not, their skeletons are going to be there for the world to see. So they don't need the millions anymore. If everyone's getting a voice, you don't need the millions of dollars. You just need to be, they just need to make sure that you're on this platform on digital democracy, and then you're going to see everything. So it's twofold. It's both that they're guaranteed a voice, and they're guaranteed a direct, basically a pretty direct connection between the citizen and the candidate. And then the other thing is, by having the skeletons open for the world to see, it makes them think twice that, oh, I could take this, $50,000, but my voters are going to see that it came from big oil, and I might lose some voters now that I take that money. So it's both an incentive that you don't need that much money anymore, and it's a disincentive to not take the bad money because it's going to be visible to everyone.
Yeah, I like that juxtaposition. It's advantageous for the voter and for quality candidates, but disadvantage for those who are slimy. I'd like to end this episode by ending on a positive note. It's both, the digital politics hub and then eventually digital democracy, right? It exposes the sliminess of candidates and just kind of it exposes the rigged patterns that keep us from being represented by our leaders. But what the digital politics hub and eventually digital democracy also provides, it provides us, the little guys, an opportunity to be more effective in our support, right? In the digital age, a like, a share, a comment, you don't have to spend $10,000, $1 million. You don't even have to spend $5. I'm sure quality candidates, they love your $5 and they need real cash. But you could also further their campaign and spread their message free, right? A share helps, making a post helps. All these digital efforts aren't in vain. They help spread the message of whatever you believe, whoever you want to throw your weight behind, your personal favorite candidate or a movement you like or a protest you're going to. The digital age allows support and continuity of effort in a way that, like Travis said, the analog way, there's a lot of gaps in the system that a lot of people, if you don't have the big money, if you don't have, transportation, just certain things prevent you from doing politics outside of an election cycle. And Digital Politics Hub allows those conversations to happen, allows that interconnected effort to happen. And so that's what we're really excited about as that's going to be released in a couple weeks. And as we round out today's episode, friendly reminder to sign up at futureis.org, sign up on our newsletter, and make sure that you are alerted when the Digital Politics Hub drops in a couple of weeks. So don't miss out on that. Go to futureis.org. Yeah, and that's all we have for today. Check us out again tomorrow. That'll be at 2 p.m. Eastern and 11 Pacific. And tomorrow we'll go into further about the need and the development of digital tools, what's already out there, how they need to connect, and what that means for politics. And that's what we'll explore tomorrow. But until then, thank you guys. And remember to hit the like and subscribe to help support us. And we will talk to you guys tomorrow.
Yep. Thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.